Anne blinks, the tension in her face breaking as she lets out a startled, breathless laugh. She looks at her hands, still smudged with the rust and grime of the dungeon chains, and then back at you, a genuine smile finally reaching her eyes.
Wait, you helped chain up a monster and then thanked me? You're the one who did the heavy lifting.
I guess I did, didn't I? I didn't even think about it. I just saw you in trouble and my body moved on its own.
That's exactly how it starts. Rebellion isn't just a feeling, it's an action. You've got the spark, Lady Anne.
Now we just need to make sure Kamoshida doesn't blow it out.
The moment of levity is cut short by a thunderous boom from the floor above. Dust and small pebbles shake loose from the ceiling, raining down onto the wine barrels. The rhythmic pulsing of the walls intensifies, the stone veins turning a deep, angry violet.
The palace is onto us. That guard was just a scout. They're sealing the lower levels. If we don't move now, we'll be buried in this cellar.
Where do we go? The way we came in is crawling with those things.
The ventilation grate, it leads to the kitchen pantry. From there, we can reach the central hall and find a way up to the tower.
You look up at the iron grate. It's high up, requiring a boost to reach, and the sounds of iron boots are getting closer to the door you just barricaded. The air in the room is getting thinner, smelling increasingly of ozone and Kamoshida's suffocating ego. The thundering footsteps in the corridor are nearly upon the door. You move with practiced efficiency, crossing the cellar to the stone wall beneath the ventilation grate. You lace your fingers together, creating a sturdy stirrup with your hands.
Step up, I've got you.
Right.
Anne places her combat boot into your palms. With a sharp grunt of effort, you hoist her upward. She catches the edge of the iron grate, her fingers straining as she heaves herself into the narrow, dusty shaft.
Quickly, Wyndra! They're at the door!
The cellar door shatters inward just as you leap, catching Anne's outstretched hand. She pulls with surprising strength, helping you scramble into the cramped, metallic tunnel just as a halberd whistles through the air where your legs had been a second before. You kick the grate back into place, the shadow's distorted roars fading behind you. The vent opens into a room that defies logic. The food here is grotesque, giant, pulsating cuts of meat that look disturbingly like human limbs, served on ornate gold. Anne stumbles out of the vent, her face turning pale as she takes in the sight.
This is what he thinks of us? We're just meat to him?
Exactly. This is the cafeteria of his castle. To a king like Kamoshida, students are just fuel for his ego.
In the center of the room, a smaller, less armored shadow, looking like a cowering student in tattered rags, is desperately scrubbing the floor with a brush made of human hair. It hasn't seen you yet, but its presence here, enslaved in this grotesque pantry, is a testament to Kamoshida's cruelty. You turn your gaze away from the cowering shadow. The sight of it, the thundering footsteps in the corridor, are nearly upon the stench of the pantry is overwhelming, a cloying, metallic sweetness that sticks to the back of your throat. You watch the cowering shadow for a moment, its frantic, repetitive scrubbing a haunting display of broken will. Anne reaches out as if to step toward it, her eyes filled with a pained empathy. But you place a firm hand on her shoulder, pulling her back into the shadows of a massive, hanging slab of marbled meat.
Ignore it for now. We need to find the exit before the guards find the vent. If we get caught here, we can't help anyone.
Anne looks from you to the enslaved shadow, her lips trembling before she nods, her expression hardening into a mask of grim focus.
You're right. I hate seeing this, but we have to keep moving.
Smart move. That shadow is just a fragment of someone's suppressed psyche. Saving it won't do much unless we take down the master of the house.
Look, over there, behind those crates of golden apples.
Morgana points a velvet paw toward a set of heavy double doors, reinforced with brass bands. Unlike the cellar door, these are built to withstand a siege. You lead the way, weaving through the grotesque obstacles of the pantry. As you approach the doors, you notice a strange, shimmering barrier pulsing across the wood, a translucent violet film that hums with static.
A cognitive lock. It's tied to Kamoshida's perception of security. We can't just muscle our way through this one.
We need a key, something that represents his authority in this specific area.
The sound of heavy boots echoes from the ventilation shaft behind you. The guards have found your entry point. Anne looks around the room frantically, her gaze landing on a golden pedestal near the cowering shadow, where a large, ornate butcher's cleaver sits on a velvet cushion. The sound of clanking metal within the ventilation shaft grows louder, accompanied by the muffled, metallic barks of the guards. You lock your eyes on the golden pedestal. In this twisted reality, a butcher's tool isn't just a kitchen implement. It's a symbol of Kamoshida's power over those he considers meat.
The cleaver. It's the only thing in here that looks like it belongs to a king.
It's hideous. But you're right. It's the only thing on a pedestal.
You move swiftly toward the center of the room. As you approach the pedestal, the cowering shadow scrubbing the floor lets out a low, distorted whimper and scurries into the darkness beneath a table. You reach out, your fingers closing around the cold, heavy grip of the golden cleaver. The moment you lift it, the violet barrier on the double doors flares brightly before dissolving into wisps of smoke.
Bullseye! That's the chef's authority! Now, let's get out of here before we're the next course.
Just as the first armored guard's helmet emerges from the vent, you and Anne bolt for the doors. You heave them open, the heavy brass hinges screaming, and sprint into the corridor beyond. The hallway is eerily quiet compared to the chaos of the pantry. The scale of the castle is even more apparent here. The ceiling is impossibly high, and the walls are decorated with massive, glowing portraits of Kamishita in various athletic poses, his eyes seemingly following your every move.
It just keeps going. How is a school this big?
It's as big as his ego, Lady Anne, which means we have a lot of ground to cover.
At the far end of the hall, a grand staircase spirals upward toward the higher reaches of the castle. However, you notice a side door marked with a golden crest of a rose, and the sound of muffled sobbing drifts from behind it. Anne stops, her hand hovering over her chest as she looks toward the rose-marked door. The sobbing is a thin, reedy sound that pierces through the heavy silence of the grand hallway. It doesn't sound like the distorted whimpers of the shadows you've encountered so far. It sounds human, raw, and filled with a despair that makes the air feel cold. You turn away from the grand staircase, your gaze fixed on the door marked with the golden rose.
That sound. Someone is in trouble. We have to check that room.
Anne nods, her face pale but her eyes burning with a sudden, sharp intensity. She recognizes that sound, the sound of someone pushed to their absolute limit.
I know that voice. Or I think I do. It sounds like someone from the team. Please, we have to hurry.
Careful. In a palace, things aren't always what they seem. This could be a trap designed to prey on your sympathy.
You reach the door and press your hand against the polished wood. It isn't locked, but it feels heavy, as if the very atmosphere inside is pushing back against you. You shove it open. In the center of the room, a woman is curled on the floor, her face buried in her hands. She wears a Shujin volleyball jersey, but it is tattered, and her legs are bruised. As she looks up, you see the reflection of a student you recognize from the school gates, her eyes red-rimmed and hollow.
Shio? No. What are you doing here?
The figure doesn't respond to the name. She simply points toward one of the mirrors. In the reflection, you don't see the room. You see Kamishita, standing over her with a whip made of rose thorns. His face twisted into a mask of pure, possessive malice. The girl on the floor begins to fade, her form turning into translucent mist. She reaches out toward Anne, a silent plea for help frozen on her lips. Behind you, the door slams shut, and the mirrors begin to crack, the shards reflecting Kamishita's mocking laughter. The golden cleaver feels heavy in your hand, its weight a physical manifestation of the authority you've wrested from this nightmare. As Kamoshida's mocking laughter echoes from the fractured glass, you don't hesitate. You pivot, swinging the massive blade in a wide, violent arc. The edge of the cleaver bites into the central mirror with a deafening crack. The glass doesn't just break. It shatters into 1,000 glowing shards that dissolve into violet sparks before they even hit the floor. The image of Kamoshida screams, a distorted digital sound, as his reflection is torn apart.
Enough of your games, Kamoshida! You don't own anyone here!
Wyndra, look! The room! It's changing!
As the mirrors shatter, the oppressive atmosphere of the rose room begins to bleed away. The translucent figure of the girl on the floor looks up at you one last time. There is no more fear in her eyes, only a fleeting, tragic sense of gratitude before she evaporates into a shower of white petals. The walls of the room ripple like water, the elegant rose wallpaper peeling back to reveal the cold, pulsating stone of the castle. The rose room was nothing more than a gilded cage, a cognitive trap designed to feast on Anne's guilt.
Great timing. You broke the loop of his desire. The king is going to be furious that you touched his private collection, though.
We need to move before the heavy hitters arrive.
Anne stands in the center of the room, her hands clenched into fists. She isn't trembling anymore. The sight of her friends suffering, even as a cognitive shadow, has ignited a cold, steady fire in her blue eyes.
He thinks he can just use people. He thinks he can turn our pain into a decoration. I'm going to make him regret ever touching her.
The back wall of the room has crumbled, revealing a hidden spiral staircase that leads directly upward. From the base of the stairs, you can see the flickering light of the central hallway far above. Anne turns to you, her expression a mix of newfound resolve and lingering heartache. You step closer to Anne, the golden cleaver still resting at your side. The flickering light of the dissolving room casts long shadows across her face, highlighting the sharp, defiant line of her jaw.
There's that fire again. I think the king is finally going to meet someone he can't bully.
Anne looks at you, the fierce heat in her eyes softening just enough to let a small, grateful smile through. She reaches up, brushing a stray lock of platinum hair behind her ear, her gaze lingering on yours with an intensity that speaks of a bond forged in the heat of battle.
He has no idea what's coming. I'm done being afraid of him. If this place is his heart, then I'm going to burn it down.
Now that's what I like to hear. That's the spirit of a true phantom thief. But we're still on his turf, and the king is definitely throwing a tantrum after what you did to his mirrors.
The floor beneath you trembles, a low, guttural groan echoing through the stone as if the castle itself is screaming in rage. The hidden staircase ahead beckons, a narrow path of jagged rock and red carpet winding upward into the dark. You emerge from the spiral stairs into the grand central hallway. The scale here is dizzying. The vaulted ceilings are lost in a purple haze, and the golden volleyball chandeliers swing violently, casting erratic, sickly shadows against the walls. Far at the end of the hall, a massive set of gilded doors, guarded by two hulking figures in plate armor, marks the entrance to the king's inner sanctum. The two guards at the door level their halberds as they spot you, the red lights in their visors flashing. Between you and the guards, several heavy stone statues of Kamishita line the hall, providing potential cover. Anne shifts into a low stance, her fingers twitching as she prepares to move.